That isn't a sneaker. That is a humiliation ritual with a price tag. And the ultimate flex is how looking like you lost your house in a fire, it's called poverty cosplay. The wealthiest are so bored with perfection that they are now paying a premium price just to look homeless. Their aim is not to look good, by any means. Their goal is to sign that you are so rich, you are immune to consequences of looking like a hobo. In this economics of ugly, Balenciaga is one of those that have tricked the world into paying a mortgage payment for a literal roll of tape. Balenciaga is the architect of this scam. They aren't a fashion house anymore, they are a meme account that manufactures leather goods. In 2022, they released the trash pouch, and I want to be very clear. This is not a metaphor, I wish I was joking. It is a bag designed to look exactly like a hefty bin liner. It is made of carved skin. It is treated to have a specific glossy plastic skin that implies you have chores to do. The price? $70.90. For the cost of a used car, you can always inspire people that you are taking out the rubbish man. It is the ultimate flex test for people's stupidity. If you bought this, not that you don't have style, is that you have a humiliation fetish. And since they didn't stop there, they came with a tape bracelet, another invention of theirs, that it looks like a roll of clear adhesive that you buy at a Home Depot for just $2. And the thing that you used to wrap Christmas presents, Balenciaga sold it to people for $3,300 a piece. That is a 100,000% markup. At that point, Demna Gvasalia, the creative director, is just checking to see if you have eyes. He's effectively trolling his own customers at this point. He wants to see if the brand name is strong enough to make you wear office supplies. After this Paris fully destroyed sneaker that you've seen, these shoes, is not that they look worn. They look like they were recovered from a serious crime scene, and the canvas was so shredded that the rubber was melted in between them. The sole was hanging out like a bung, and they sold 100 pairs for $1,850 each. And I guarantee you that at this point, Balenciaga is a social experiment, since they're putting a price tag on a piece of literal garbage. And because the price is high, the customer generally assumes that art must be so deep. It's not deep, it's just expensive trash. And just when you thought the joke was over, they released the towel skirt. It is a beige terry cloth towel, and it has 2 buttons on the inside of your waist. The price tag? $925. You have these in your bathroom right now. You stole one from a Holiday Inn in 2014, and Balenciaga took the bright idea of a domestic object by slapping a logo onto it with a tag and sell it for people who are desperate to look like they just showered at a gym. Why? Because looking undone is why. It's the new luxury. Somebody chewed you out and spit you out, or you jumped through a wardrobe and took whatever dropped on you. You look like you just walked out of a sauna in the middle of a Tuesday and pretend that you own a building. And since this costume is leisure, it's probably packed again at the price of a cheaper first car. Balenciaga is the high-out scam. Let's shift from them, since you probably heard enough. What about Crocs? That is the mass market delusion. 10 years ago, Crocs were for 2 types of people: toddlers and emergency room nurses. They looked a bit functional, they were ugly as and cheap. Then the fashion industry hijacked again the clog. Now we have the Madame Mule, which is imaginary green from Croc, attached with a black stiletto heel to the back, and it looks like Shrek's character trying to be a stripper. The price? $625. And people bought them and they sold out. And the rise of this luxury Croc is a physical manifestation of a burnout, since society used to have a bit more class and style. If you look back in a day, or even if you look a couple of years ago, men had a bit more suits to baseball game. People polished their shoes. Now we're wearing our shower shoes to dinner for extra points just to feel unique. When did people stop to look presentable and started putting a trend up calling giving up? I've seen a person who has too much money and they pretend to be immune to embarrassment, or they get depressed when they get bullied online. Well, Balenciaga and Crocs admit they are memes, probably. This Golden Goose is something much worse. This brand that sells Italian leather sneakers for $600 that came pre-scuffed. They have black smudge marks on the rubber, and they had frayed laces. These laces have duct tape sewn onto the side by a craftsman in Venice, which probably Giuseppe got drunk on wine and made pasta into noodles. And since this is a color stolen Valor, which is actual poverty having shoes that are falling apart since you can afford new one luxury, it's you're paying rent money for a shoe that resembles a falling apart society, so you can borrow the aesthetic of struggle without ever actually having to struggle. It creates a curated imperfection. Now, if you scuff your own Nikes, you might look messy, or your Pumas, or whatever you wear. You look like you don't care, but when you buy these golden Goose sneakers that were scuffed by a machine in Italy, you all of a sudden become effortless. You look like you travel. You look like you have experiences. No, it's pretty much a tax on your authenticity, and you are paying 600 quid to look like you walk to work when we all know you took an Uber Black. It's poverty tourism for people who have never missed a meal in their lives or went to bed hungry. So why do they do this? That's what I'm asking myself. Since people don't spend billions on ugly things, psychologically, let's call ugly is like a firewall. If you're dressed in a tailor suit, you open yourself to criticism. Does it fit? Is the fabric cheap? Is the color right? But if you're dressed in a giant trash bag and shredded shoes, all of a sudden you become immune. If somebody says, that looks ugly, you can just say, you don't get it. Shut up, Jennifer. It signals that you are so secure in your status that you don't need to perform traditional beauty. It's sort of a ultimate old money flex wannabe mutated on steroids, and money used to buy a shiny Ferrari. Since money now buys a logo that screams I'm rich, True Power buys a 2000 bag that looks like garbage. They know that no matter what they wear, their bank account is still full. And since they are tourists in the land of poor, they visit the aesthetic of homelessness. They snapped a couple of selfies, they bought the distressed hoodie, and then go home to a gated community. Hypocrites, aren't we? But anyway, this ugly fashion movement is not just about clothes. It's more about boredom. They have made everything else more efficient, as in cars, phones, home. Everything is nice, sleek, glass, wanna be perfect. Okay, the only place to find texture is in garbage. But don't be fooled. Since when you buy these sneakers on dumpster fire or trash bag pouch, I think you're just being evasive. You aren't in on a joke wannabe vibe. You're actually the punchline. And since you are paying a corporation to sell you the very thing that actual people are trying to escape, I can safely say that fashion is dead and we are just wearing the debris